Christian in Denmark, you're on with Don and Matt.
Hi, Don. Hey, Matt. How you doing?
Hi.
Doing pretty well. How are you?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Yes, I'm just as nervous as the last caller, so have patience with me. Well, I'm calling because I live in Denmark, and I grew up a Christian, and my mother is Christian, and my grandparents were Christians. And since I was a child, I have been afraid of hell and ghosts and all that, and that's over the years I have become an antinatalist based on religious grounds, and it's because that I think that many people, religious people, they who have children, they believe that if you don't follow their belief, you will end up in hell. Many religious people believe that, and I think it's immoral.
Yes.
To have children, if you think that your children could actually end up in hell. Would you agree with that?
Well, I was going to say, I was thinking that you were going to say that it's immoral to give children this sort of fear-based indoctrination.
Yeah, that's something I would agree with. I find the argument interesting that you would. It seems it's not so much that it seems you're saying you are. Well, I don't know. Are you a theist?
I actually don't know what I am anymore because but the fear of hell is constantly with me, you know.
Okay, well, yeah. I would think that if you were a theist, if you were somebody who actually believed in God, you'd know it. I don't know how you could actually believe something and not necessarily be aware of it. But the argument that if you were a theist, that with the proposition that your offspring was likely to go to hell or at serious risk of going to hell, that you should then be an antinatalist, there might be something there. But arguing that anyone or everyone should be antinatalist, I find absolutely repugnant because even in your own story, you're basically prioritizing things that we don't know to be true. It's like the person who called in a few weeks ago suggesting that it would be immoral to have kids because they're going to suffer. And you're prioritizing that life includes suffering over the fact that life includes things that aren't suffering. And so, obviously, if everybody was antinatalist, well, we'd go extinct. And we also wouldn't learn or discover anything else about the universe. We also wouldn't have the opportunity to make our lives better. It's undeniable, given scientific advances, that living in 2019 is much better than living in 1019. In the last 1,000 years, and not only has life expectancy gone up, but the quality of life is increased. I mean, I'm sitting in a temperature-controlled environment here. I'm able to talk to people at great distances and have experiences and learn about things that are outside of my immediate area. For me, I just find it bizarre that someone would say the likelihood of overwhelming suffering in life greatly outweighs any potential joy or happiness and any benefits along those lines. Your argument, though, that if you believed your kids were likely to go to hell, I think could also be flipped on its head, which is the people who believe that would also believe there's a heaven. And so by refusing to have kids, and if they're like of a Christian religion, they're outright disobeying God, because God gave in Christianity and in Judaism, God gave the instruction to be fruitful and multiply. And so they're supposed to have kids. And so to deny that would actually be them standing in opposition to the very God that they believe in, or the doctrine they believe in.
Let me add here, we don't believe you have a soul, and so there won't be anything there to torture.
Yeah, we don't believe in ghosts, and I don't know why anybody would look at like ghosts as something, I shouldn't have a kid for fear that a ghost might boo at them when we don't have any evidence. We don't have any evidence that actually happens. We just have some stories. And similarly,
yeah, I mean, look into the soul thing and find out whether it even holds water. I am convinced it does not. And And then, then they're just
I
scaring you for no reason.
Yeah, but when I was about 17 or something, I was having a lot of suffering from depression and something like that, and some of my friends, they thought that I would try to commit suicide, and one of my friends, his mother was some kind of a palm reader and something like that, and she told me that if I would commit suicide, then I would end up in some kind of, limbo, ghosts, something like that, and everything would be
and why would you
a lot
believe
worse.
That? I mean, you
know.
do realize that there's no evidence that looking at someone's palm allows you to divine anything at all about their life or their future, right?
Oh, but it's because she said that she could. She is also one of those persons who claim that she can communicate with the dead and something like that.
Okay, can she prove it?
No.
Okay,
Yeah.
if I told you that I can communicate with the dead and I can read palms, and I gave you advice that was the exact opposite of hers, which one of us would you believe and why?
I don't know, and it's a very good question, and I really don't know. But the problem is that these kind of fears, it really affects my life in a very negative way.
Which is why Don was talking about this as the subject for today.
Yeah, I mean, don't let yourself be so easily manipulated. Shore up your critical thinking skills, learn the logical fallacies, learn to look for evidence for things, and challenge these beliefs and get rid of them. They're liabilities.
It's if I were to tell you, Christian, I've just had a word from the other side, and you need to send me 10,000 US dollars by the end of the week, and if you do, you will be fine. But if you don't, you will be haunted by ghosts for the rest of your existence, and you won't even be able to see that they're there. It's just they'll do little things to constantly make your life go wrong. What do you do when somebody says something like that?
I don't know.
Well, would you? Here's the thing.
Call bullshit.
Here's the thing.
That's what you do.
No, you don't, because you can't prove that. You can't prove it's unfalsifiable. Would you send me the $10,000? No. Is $10,000 worth more than your life or your mental happiness for the rest of your life?
Is $10 million
$10,000. $10,000.
Yeah.
Is that worth more than your mental health and happiness for the rest of your life?
No.
So if you're not going to send me $10,000, how much more ridiculous is it for you to sacrifice willingly your own mental health and happiness for the rest of your life?
For nothing.
It's a good point. I have no. I don't know how to. It's not because I have. It's not because I know it's not rational to all these.
That's a start.
Beliefs, but I think it's. I don't know. I don't think I'm an atheist. I will not call myself an atheist because if I was an atheist, maybe I would not be afraid of these things, or some atheists maybe are, because like
there's all sorts of shades of gray here. I mean, again, focus on critical thinking skills and skepticism.
At no point were either of us suggesting you need to call yourself an atheist. I mean, you may be, but what you call yourself, I don't care. What we're advocating is that you not accept claims without sufficient evidence, that you not allow unsubstantiated assertions from palm readers, psychics, mystics, shaman, priests, or anybody else who can't demonstrate or has not demonstrated the truth of what they're saying. You shouldn't allow those to affect your life in that way.
Oh, okay. And I appreciate you saying that, but if I can say one more thing, is that it's about there was a program here in Denmark a couple of years ago, and it was about all those near-death experiences. You have talked about them a lot, I think. And there was also a story about a guy from America. I think his name was Eben Alexander or something.
Yeah, that was a lie, and they admitted it was a lie.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know that. I didn't know. But in that program, there also was a woman from Denmark here, actually from my city. And she said that in 2011, she got very sick and she was brought into the hospital. And she had some kind of near-death experience where she experienced hell. And she described it in a very graphic way and and somehow it made me feel very bad. And I was very afraid because I had been afraid of hell since I was a kid, because I also used to ask my mother, is there something that could not be forgiven? Because, in Christianity you should forgive and everything. And
let me
said that.
Let me give you a thought here. There is this phrase in skepticism of who benefits. And in the case of a show like that, who benefits? Well, the people putting on this show benefit because they sell ads and they get a lot of viewers. And making a show like that very lurid and very eerie plays into the fears and emotions of people like you in the audience.
Yeah.
In the case of the church, who benefits by scaring people that they have a soul and it's going to be tortured? Well, the church benefits because they make money off of that.
And I actually despise that entire line of argument, because the fact that somebody benefits from it is independent from whether or not it's true. The only thing that matters is there sufficient reason to conclude that it's true? Because I benefit from all kinds of things that I say.
Sure.
The only issue is, do you have good reason to believe that it's true?
No, not really. But there was. She said, this woman who experienced hell. She said that the last thing she said that if you ever experienced hell, you would not dare not to believe in God.
Okay.
And I heard.
Why should we care what she says at all?
Can she prove Can she prove she was in hell?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Do you believe people when they tell you their alien abduction stories?
No.
Do you believe in Bigfoot?
Isn't being abducted by aliens vastly more plausible than a supernatural claim? I mean, there's nothing supernatural about aliens.
And the universe is very big.
So isn't it more?
That's a physical matter.
Isn't it more likely that somebody's been abducted by an alien that they've actually gone to hell?
I don't know. I don't believe in alien abductions. No, and I'm not saying that I believe in hell. I'm not. Listen. I don't say I believe in hell.
Okay.
But the fear of hell is still somewhere
Right.
deep inside me.
Why would you be afraid of something that you don't believe in?
Are
you afraid of the boogeyman? Are you afraid of monsters under your bed?
A lot of different religions have versions of hell. Are you afraid of all of them?
No, only the Christian.
Only because you were indoctrinated with that, I imagine.
Because they scared the hell into you when you were a little kid.
Yeah. But I don't know how to get out of it. No.
I'm not remotely saying it's easy. I'm not just saying, hey, get over it. I know people who suffer from this all the time. The only thing we can do is keep encouraging people to be rational and ask what the evidence is. And then you have to ask yourself, why am I terrified of something for which I have no evidence? Why is it okay for me to not believe alien abduction stories and yet be terrified of a hell that I also don't believe in?
Yeah.
And get more angry and indignant about your being manipulated.
Yeah, and you don't have to send us any money. If you'd like to, though, Patreon.com. Yeah, we appreciate all of our supporters through YouTube and Patreon and other efforts, but you don't have to send us money to avoid being haunted.
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay. Well, thank you for taking the call.
Sure. Thanks, Christian.
Sure. Good luck to you.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, it's not something that's easy to set aside. Irrational fears, especially, I mean, lots of people have irrational fears and they recognize, oh, this is irrational. Including, I know people who are afraid of snakes who don't know nothing about snakes, who've never touched a snake. And for some reason, in a lot of people's head, if they've never done this, they have this notion that snakes are slimy. And so, my favorite thing is to get them to actually touch a snake if they're willing. I'm not going to throw a snake at them. That would be a dick move. But once you've actually handled a snake that's, non-venomous and friendly and, all of a sudden, hang on, it starts breaking down
you
the preconceived
build
notion.
some new memories of that. And, it might help Christian to go learn about all the different versions of hell and all the different ideas that are there, because it's a very mixed up and goofy concept.
At a minimum, if you're going to buy into this notion, you should try to figure out which hell you should try to avoid.
There you go.
Because if you avoid the wrong hell,
you're wasting
what good
your
is
time.
that?
Yeah.
If you spend all this time giving money to the Catholic Church to avoid the Catholic version of hell, and it turns out that a really strange esoteric Buddhist version of hell, I think it's Naranj maybe, I'm not going to pronounce it correctly.
Cthulhu or something.
Is more plausible. You just kind of screwed yourself for eternity.
Yeah.
Or you could do the reasonable thing, which is to say, I don't have any reason to think that there's anything after I die. For me to experience, that there's no me left to experience. And until that changes, it would be intellectually dishonest for me to prioritize one version of hell over another or one version of heaven over another. And that's the big dilemma. Even if you only had a couple of options, should you be working to avoid the worst hell, or should you be working to get to the best heaven?
Yeah. It's kind of sadly ironic that on our Halloween episode here, we're dealing with people's real fears of unreal places.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you encounter a question like that, where the honest answer is, "Gosh, I don't know which hell I should try to avoid, or whether I should avoid a hell or seek a heaven, I don't know." If that's the right answer, then start getting just a little bit more comfortable with saying "I don't know" and acting as if you understand that that's the right answer. Because the one thing I can say is that if in fact there is some God who's going to punish me for honestly saying "I don't know" and not accepting claims that don't have enough evidence, and that God's going to torture me for that, I'm already morally superior to that God, and so is everybody I've ever met, because no rational person, no rational actor could do that. I'm going to create a scenario. I'm going to put you to the test. And there's a heaven for you to achieve if you pass a test. And if you fail the test, you'll go to a hell. And I'm not going to provide sufficient evidence that any of this is true.
Yeah.
Mwahahaha. I mean, that's
pretty spooky.
Yeah.
Yeah.